Hi, my name is Richard Davis, and I'm here for Burnaby Connect. Today we're going to be reporting on the amazing and beautiful Whistler Film Festival.
And a headshot.
It's about a music producer who's working in LA, who's from the United Kingdom, who is a schizophrenic. He befriends a young chanteuse who he sees some real potential in, a singer. And it's at that point that he decides to come off his medication and suffers a schizophrenic break, which sort of sends him out into the dark underbelly of LA. And Hannah, played by Juna Temple, who's the young singer he sort of encourages to follow a career, she kind of comes to his rescue as much as she can. And it's sort of a tale about lost souls in Los Angeles, in a town which can be very impersonal, how easy it is to become homeless very quickly if you don't have the right sort of mental health care. And it's a film about friendship, so yeah, it's lots of things.
So what do you think, with it being, a very deep movie about the whole drug addiction thing and schizophrenia, what societal impact do you think the film is going to have?
I hope it will sort of bring some attention to some of the sort of flaws in the mental health system, I think, in the US. I think it's very difficult to get people into care who have mental health issues. They have to be taken in on certain criteria, and that doesn't always fit the characteristics of what they have in terms of their mental health issues. It's not easy when people have to submit themselves for care. People who don't believe they're unwell or think that everyone's out to get them aren't going to submit themselves for help. So Theo, my character, goes from being a fairly well-adjusted music producer living in an apartment in LA to being completely homeless in about 3 days, just because he gets evicted, and then, So, it says a lot about the sort of plight of the mentally unwell.
Music and stories have always been inexplicably linked. That's why myself and Kieran Neat went out to discover the stories behind some of Metro Vancouver's most talented buskers, in part 1 of our series, On the Streets, Stories of Metro Vancouver.
This instrument is bamboo flute, and I made my own instrument. Yeah, we made our own instrument actually, and we play it. This is called a bamboo flute in English, but in the native language they call it quenacho. And this one is a little one. It's called in English panpipe, but they call it the little one sikus. According to the size, the name is different. There's a huge one like this. It sounds very low, like a double bass. It's called toyos. This one, the embouchure, you see, the mouthpiece can be replaced. You make a cut there, take it out, and replace it by the bone. It's quite beautiful. They get married in so many ways. This song.
Davis of Burnaby Connect, and I'm sitting down over Zoom today with Vancouver-based filmmaker Mike Johnston. He was a co-founder of Studio 104 Entertainment and has directed documentaries such as Portrait of a Warrior and Synopsis, as well as narrative films like Line of Fire. So as someone who's kind of made narrative films as well as documentaries, what are kind of the differences that you find between making them?
Narrative side, you have to plan out a lot more elements because you're dealing with props, you're dealing with sets, you're dealing with locations, multiple actors, maybe multiple location moves in a day. Everything has to be carefully coordinated to fit that 12-hour day, whereas documentary is a little bit more of a fluid process. You're not shooting for 12 hours a day necessarily. Sometimes you're shooting for more depending on the subject availability, but oftentimes it's a lot more kind of roll with the punches type of medium. And usually involves a lot of travel, which, is something that we're kind of seeing affected right now because of the current, state of affairs.
Mhm.
But they are totally different beasts. That being said, I've kind of tried, my approach to documentary has always been to try and make it as cinematic as possible. So you do kind of see, at least in the films that I've done, a little bit of the blurring of the lines there between narrative and documentary in some sense.
So, what is the best piece of advice you can give to someone who wants to be a filmmaker, specifically a documentary filmmaker, as you are one of the filmmakers who does specialize kind of in the documentary world?
I would say, again, I kind of go back to this point that I mentioned earlier, but I'd say don't be too married to a vision. Again, and kind of just like allow yourself to just kind of follow the story and let it unfold. Because again, just going back to synopsis, it's like I think I thought I had a very clear vision on what the story should be and how, you know, the edit should be laid out, that sort of thing. But as we went along and I kind of learned more about my subjects and I saw the story unfold a little deeper, and all this stuff, is like that all changed, and that's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with that, and especially with documentary, I think you always want to be crafting the right story instead of crafting your story,
Mhm.
because at the end of the day, it is factual entertainment and it is, you know, nonfiction film. So you want to be telling the most accurate story. But then also something I think I've learned is you want to make sure that you're telling a fair story as well. You don't want to
Right.
just be on one person's side of the equation. You want to tell both sides of the coin.
Big foot to the chin, and here it is, the slingshot drop kick as administered by Sin.
Like the last wild frontier of filmmaking, you go there, you think you're going to shoot one thing, and you follow the story, and hey, you end up shooting another.
Well, yeah, and like
And
there's been plenty of like famous cases before of like doing that and incredible things unfold. There was a filmmaker based in New York that was filming the New York Fire Department on September 11th, 2001.
Oh my god.
And he was just filming the fire department. Like it was
Yep.
a documentary about firefighters. And then on that day, two planes hit the World Trade Centers, and it became, the next thing you know is it became like the preeminent 9/11 documentary.
As we are obviously talking about all of this, the COVID-19 pandemic is gripping the world and specifically our country.
Mhm.
How has it kind of affected the film industry in Vancouver and Canada as a whole so far?
I mean, the easiest way to describe it, I think, would be state of flux.
Do you think in 2021, 2022, we will see, let's say, a film released by Universal starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, where he's a CDC scientist fighting off coronavirus?
I mean, I hope so. Like, I want to see that movie. And I hope when you say he's fighting coronavirus, I hope you literally mean he's fighting
Like
not like trying to
physically.
find a cure. Like he's actually like trying to kick some ass off
Yeah.
corona. See, that's a movie I'll see. I mean, there's already been a coronavirus film that was actually, I think, made by a Vancouver filmmaker.
Mhm.
That I think he finished shooting like right before the lockdown,
Yeah.
and he's in post right now.
It
So
was
I
the
mean,
one that was shot entirely inside like an elevator from the looks of it, right?
yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
And like, so that's probably going to be the world's first coronavirus film.
Do you understand that there's a virus going around in this building?
I didn't know there's a coronavirus in the building.
Yes, no room, no room.
And again, yeah, I think it's going to be a part of our work, especially narrative stuff. It's like, like what I think about is, do you know the movie Contagion? Steven Soderbergh made
I
the film.
don't, but I remember a classmate of mine mentioned to me, and he was like, "This is scary how similar it is to."
Yeah, it came out in like
coronavirus.
2009, so almost a decade ago.
Right.
But I watched it kind of right as the quarantine was starting, and it was, I mean, in my mind, it's pretty similar.
Hello. I need you to get me the names of everyone who serviced this room. It's an emergency.
So I'm sure there will be at least 3 or 4, viral contagion-based movies. But I hope it's not a permanent fixture. I hope we can kind of, get it out of our systems and move on with it. That being said, I definitely want to see Dwayne Johnson in that movie.
That would be very fun to watch.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, I don't hold anything back. I watch anything that The Rock is in, pretty much.
Fair enough.
I just his characters are just so over the top and awesome that it to me it's just entertainment. Like it's like
true.
He's not going to win an Oscar, but I mean it's fun to watch.
100%.
All brings me out here, man, it's something new. I've never been a part of any protest or anything like that before, so I feel like, especially here in Vancouver, I don't think it's ever really been done like that. So be a part of something and see, everyone who's black, women, men, people who aren't black coming out here to support. And, as well, me being black, right, being a black Canadian, I felt like, it's a responsibility for me to come up here, not only, share my rights, share my opinion, things like that, but enjoy with everybody else.
Do you think you're alone in the whole first protester mindset, or do you think there's a lot of other people who it is their first protest and they feel like it's their duty to come out and support the cause?
No, I think for a lot of people it is their first. I know the people that I came with, it's their very first protest and things like that. And so I know the fear that I had, they also had the same thing. But we all came in together, and as we got in, I went to go do my speech, all that kind of just fizzled away, and I just felt natural and I felt comfortable.
I'm just tired. Like, I see this constantly. My people are constantly being killed for the color of their skin. And I think, especially with the riots and the protests, it's time that we actually stood up and did something like this.
And I'm here because I wanted to spread awareness for everything that's happened, and I'm tired of seeing all this tragedy with all of my brothers and sisters, and enough is enough.
Faded in the park, whole thing. So we were there, and one of our friends is holding alcoholic beverage. Mind you, we do not drink or anything like that.
Right.
They were holding it for someone else who was of age. The officer stopped us, asked us, what are we doing here? Show us our wristbands, things like that, proof of purchase and, being in the park. Things would escalate, and we would actually get grabbed and body slammed to the floor by police officers. They took out all of our phones, our wallets, things like that, out of our fanny packs, and whatever was in our pockets. They put their forearm on our neck. And there's nothing that we could really do, I'm a pretty small dude, my other guy's a pretty small dude, and we kind of just had to take it from there, and we were moved out the park and, kind of just thrown out.
We go through this shit every single day, and it might be unnoticeable,